Hi, Toby. All right. Well, it's 8:05.
Mm,
Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are not plenty, but the show must go on. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to AFRICODERS webinar. I think this is the third one that we're having so far. Thank you so much for making the time. Our topic today is what is open source? How can we create and manage open source projects? Mm. Well, the objectives are basically to understand open source, um, learn how to contribute, and explore creating our own projects. Um, so first off, what is open source? I'm sure many of us have heard of the term. It's been flying around lately in the tech spaces. But open source, generally, is software that the code, you can inspect it, modify it, and distribute it. You can update it. You can add your own flavors to it. You can do anything with it. Someone creates it or people create it. They put it up online for others to access. Mm. Let me give an example. So Wikipedia, for example, is open source. On Wikipedia, here I've searched up for the definition of open source. And with it, you get a lot of the information, but also a lot of the resources for it. Wikipedia is a great resource for open source information. But if we're looking at, let's say, us programmers and software engineers, the best option we'll have is GitHub, because almost anything that you search up on GitHub, let's say open source. Yeah. You have access to it. And not only is it easily accessible, but then with each GitHub project, you have a license that comes with it. Okay, this is not in English. Let's go back. But you guys get what I mean. Let's go back to our presentation. So open source software, you can distribute it, you can modify it, inspect it, and do anything you want with it freely. The key principles of open source, not just the software, but the, let me say, community around it are transparency, collaboration, community, and freedom. I'm sure there are others, but I'm guessing they'd fall into one of those four. Because think of like GitHub, all the code is transparent. You can collaborate with people. There's a community around it, and you're free to use and distribute it as much as you like to. So if you're not already in the open source community, which is often rare because a lot of us are already doing open source things, we just don't consider it as open source, But if you're looking for how to get in, well, the first steps are to contribute. You can contribute by fixing bugs, adding features, creating documentation, design, and testing software online. Let's go back to the GitHub example. VLC. Let's go to VLC. Da, 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 da. I'm sure all of us know, at least hopefully all of us know VLC Media Player. It's a universal media player, basically. And they have a GitHub repository, which is managed by the Videoland team. So if you click on here, it takes you to the VLC Media Player website. So if you're looking to get into open source, well, you just gotta find software that you have an idea on how to make it better, or you have an idea on how you can change it. And let's say here on VLC, we want to work on it. So let's work on it. We're gonna fork VLC. VLC open. Yeah. So we're gonna create a fork. And once it's here, you can actually create, I'm just going to use a code space. Oop. Because like I'm going to use a code space and then make a contribution to it and then push it up there. But oftentimes with large projects like this, which have already established communities, it's always a good idea to check out their guidelines on the things, their guidelines on contributions, basically. Okay, so here, for example, it lets you know that VLC is maintained by a community of people. Videoline is not paying any of them. The community is composed of developers, helpers, maintainers, designers, writers that want this open source project to thrive. And that's generally the energy around these kind of communities. So they'll tell you exactly what they need you to help them with. So we need help with the following tasks: coding, packaging for Windows, Mac OS, and Linux distributions, technical writing for documentation, design, support, community management, and communication. Please contribute. Yay. They're also an IRC, but basically this is a big green light because you can actually find something here that you're passionate about. And then once you have it, okay, we're gonna try coding. I'm not actually going to contribute to this thing, but we're just gonna follow it through to the last button click. Yeah. So let's go back to the code space. Code space must have loaded by now. And this is the actual source code for VLC Media Player, you know? So you can edit it as much as you like. You can make modifications to anything on here. Once you've made your modifications, then you come right back to the repo that you have, and then you come here to contribute. This branch is not ahead. Well, I haven't made any commits yet. So the branch is it's at the same place as the main, but let me make a comment. Readme. Add a line to it. We'll see source repo on my end. Cool. and we're gonna. Ooh, that's weird. Let this reload. We're gonna create a branch. I'm going to export the changes to the repo, and then I'm going to push for contributions so that we see how seamless it is. Hopefully network doesn't take too long. No, it shouldn't. Wonderful. So the branch is ready. Mhm. Mhm. Cool. All right. So that should be that should have merged. Now let's this isn't mine. Hmm. So now we can contribute. So once we have made the changes we want to make and we've merged it with our branch, we can open a pull request. Opening a I'm going to have to undo this later, but it's fine. When you open a pull request, the guys in the main repository that you forked it from are going to see that, okay, this guy has made some changes. What are the changes? Okay, look at the changes he's made here. Is this change good for the repo and in line with any of the um, help that we need, contributions that we need? If so, then they're going to approve it. If not, then it's just going to be here. And just like that, you have become an open source developer. Congratulations. Let's get back to the slide. Ooh. So I hope I'm not boring you guys. How far now? Are you guys here with me? If you're here, just give me a thumbs up. Let me know that you guys are with me. Or your favorite emoji. Nice. Nice. All right, let's go there. So once you've either fixed a bug, added a feature, added documentation design, or tested the app, you contribute to it and you can use that as a reference for future gigs, roles that you are interested in, because that is the experience that uh, employers are looking for, because you're working on live code in live conditions, and you're being approved by people who are working in production. Great resources for finding these sort of open source contribution opportunities are GitHub, as we just tried, GitLab, Open Source Initiative, and Wikitech, which is Wikipedia's tech branch, basically. You know, some of the common tools and platforms you can use, as you just saw, GitHub, which was using Git, which I used Git to fork the repository, um, push to my branch, and then contribute to their branch. Let's move on. So that brings us to our next slide, which is what's in it for me, which is a very, very, very important question that we must always ask ourselves in anything that we do on God. Because if it's not benefiting you, then like not to sound selfish, but you're burning energy, it doesn't work. It's not a balanced equation. So what's in it for me as an open source contributor slash developer? Well, you're, you're going to learn a lot of portfolio building. You're going to improve your skills in whatever field that you're pushing. And you're going to engage with the open source community, which is the best kind of networking because you're working with the people who you um, are striving to meet with this because they're at where you want to be. So, yeah. Um, mhm. Next slide. So, action points. Well, you need the tools. You need the tools to be able to contribute. And the great thing is that a lot of those tools are also open source. GitHub is free to use and work with. Git is open source. VS Code, which you need to create the code, is also open source. You know, best practices for contribution. Well, for that, we can actually we can head back to GitHub. How am I going to cancel this change? Sure, it's fine. Let's see if we can cancel the pull request. And I don't, yes, cool. So I can close the pull request to let them know, say, I was not serious. Mm, let's go back to, let's not go to Videoland. Let's check out Ubuntu. Let's check out Ubuntu. Something big. And no, it's not giving me what I'm looking for. Apache. All right, let's check out OpenWhisk. So this is a sub product of Apache, which is their serverless cloud platform. And it's open source, OpenWhisk. So if you want to contribute, I'm sure there's going to be a man page for them. So open source, OpenWhisk community and support. You can join our team on Slack. You can request an invite here, report bugs, ask questions, and request features here on GitHub. So let's go there. So here, want to contribute to Apache OpenWhisk. If you have a bug or an idea, read the contribution guidelines. Let's check out the contribution guidelines. So let's check out the coding standards. So please ensure you follow the coding standards used throughout the existing code base. Some basic rules include all files must have the Apache license in the header. All public repositories must have passing builds for all operating systems. push requests. The code is correctly formatted as defined in the Scalariform plugin properties. If you use IntelliJ for development, this page describes the setup and configuration. So they're very, 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 very specific on how they want you to do the thing. And by being able to follow this, you are training yourself for this standard of work, which is global, you know? So the benefits are fantastic because it's basically free training. If you're looking for an internship, there is no better internship than working as an open source developer slash contributor because you are working directly in the industry and they're training you for free and they're giving you publicity on top. So let's head back to our slide. So we're seeing guidelines for effective collaboration, creating your own open source project. All right. Let's go to OpenAPI. You can create something on GitHub as well. But we've been on GitHub too much. Open. Excuse me. Boop. So we're on OpenAPI. What is OpenAPI? Well, I'm sure all of us basically use it. All of us use it, even in one form or another, how to get involved. So I'm just using OpenAPI as an example, but we don't even need to go far. See them here. Boop, boop. You know, majority of these guys have a GitHub repository. It's like social media for tech companies. So you can, as I did before, let's say you want to create an API solution. I want to create an API solution, and it's going to be an open source project, but the foundation of it needs to be it's an API basically. Instead of me having to reinvent the wheel, there are people who have already done majority of the work. I just want to add my own flavor to it. So find something that fits the bill, which is OpenAPI. Let's see. Boop. Let's go to the specification. And all we got to do is fork it. Mhm. Once it's on here, well, we'll need to change the license that is on there. Here's the contributing contributors licenses. We'll need to look through the license. Like back then, it's not really that difficult. Mm. Well, depending on what it is that we want to do, we'll have to edit the license. But once we've edited the license, then you can make your changes on here. Once you've made your changes, then it's as easy as creating a wiki for it. You create a wiki for your project, and then you actually just start pushing it. In order to get it pushed into to become as known as, let's say, all these other open source projects. That's where things like other open source communities and social media come into play. Because then I'm guessing that the project that you're creating has to solve a problem. So that problem, let's say, all right, let's follow this. Let's follow it all the way. Let's go to X. Cool. And API products. We've gone too far, but you guys get what I mean. Let's get back on track. We're burning time, Seth. So that's how you create your own open source project. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to start it all the way from scratch. You just need to know what you want to do and find out what resources and things have been done that are like it, which you can just build on top of. I'd like us to register for the next topic, which is steps to initiate and manage a product. Because the open source webinar, I want to make it a continuing project. We actually need to create a project as a community. And this is a great way to get that started. So at the end of the webinar, we're going to network and exchange contacts so that we can organize ourselves and get the ball rolling, basically. Next slide. Examples of successful open source projects. I think we've covered those. So we've checked out Apache Linux, we've checked out VLC, Python, and also React. And I'm sure we know how those work. Next slide. And here we are. So you guys can unmute. Let's just gist. Have you guys worked in any open source projects, or are you guys interested in contributing to any open source projects? What's up, my peoples? Hi, Joshua. Hi, Tobiloba. Hi, Ebo. Hi, Tolani. Hi, Godfrey.
Mr. Peters.
Yes, sir.
Well done. I just joined now, though, but I've not really worked on with any open source project, so just coming to learn more and know more about open source actually.
All right. Where did you catch us? Where did you meet us?
Yeah, I saw you on GitHub. You are trying to fork a open source project just to change license and start the contribution.
Yes. All right. Do you have any projects that you're currently working on which you might be looking to make them open source?
Huh? Not really. Not really.
All right, that's cool. Welcome.
But I'm open to contributing. If I see any open source project, I'm open to contribute to the project.
All right. Well, that's wonderful because we need to actually contribute. We need to create a project for ourselves as a community. And I'm even looking at hitting problems that we are facing as developers in our society/community. You
Oh,
know,
yeah, that works.
Like this Internet of a thing. Yesterday, network was terrible. Like towards the end of the week, I'm sure you all also noticed the network was terrible.
Yeah,
Yeah. Is there no way for us to fix that kind of that problem? There has to be, no?
yeah. You just have to think it through and come up with something.
Exactly. So that's where things like open source come in really handy because it's not a company that is paying us to do things. It's us seeing a problem that all of us are facing and having the zeal to solve that problem once and for all because we already have all the tools we need. It's just
Mm,
will.
yeah, that's true.
All right, then, Solani. I'm going to share my details after this so that we can come together. But better than that, let's create a let's join a GitHub organization so that we can actually work where the work needs to be done. Yes. Give me a second. All right. So this is the AFRICODERS organization. Funny enough, we already have people on there. If you're interested, you can just drop your email, username, or full name in the chats. Let me just add it on there and send you an invite so that we can begin working on a project together. All right, I've seen Cybernerdy. I've sent an invite. Boop, 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 boop. And all right, I've seen Annie Abel. I've seen T Noel 2. T Noel 2, it says you aren't a GitHub member. Did you type that right? Getting Toby 98. Seeing Toby 98. Okay. Seeing T Noel. This first one, yeah? Yeah. And seeing Godfrey. Cool. What I'm gonna create is a new repository. Open source projects. A repository with all our open source projects. How to read me license. General public license. And it should be an open. We're good. Cool. Now let's add a team. I think you guys will be able to see this already once you get to the, let me just, boop, boop. I've pasted the repository link in the chat so you guys can check it out. But we will shall meet up for our next event to begin working on it. So in the meantime, let me get you guys the link to our next event so that you can just sign up once. Mhm. Nice. All right. So I've pasted the follow-up events in the chat. You guys can just register first. I've not really added much content to it, but definitely before this time next week, we will be ready. But you guys can register so that you get early invites and updates to it as we go. All right, Q&A. Does anyone have any questions on the webinar topic, remark? How was it, by the way? I hope you guys learned something from it and got updated. I'd love some feedback. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. Sure, Abel, if you want to talk, you can talk. Please unmute yourself. Don't stress yourself because of.
Okay. Yeah, good evening, guys. So I have a question, and the question is, how do you know what parts of, say, a large open source project to start with? Because I keep imagining something at the scale of VLC, or I once took a look at RxJS repo and it was huge. So how do you know which ones to start with and where to start with the code?
That's a fantastic question, Abel. Thank you so much. And the one you start with is the one that you are passionate about, the one that you personally have something you want to contribute to. You know, let's say you're using VLC on your Mac, and anytime you open two files at the same time, VLC crashes. That's a bug. And it is something that disturbs you so much, and you're like, oh, I know what the fix is just to increase the memory in so and so location. So once you know, it's not that you go and you just start contributing to any open source projects. You have to ask yourself the question, okay, what open source projects am I using that I would like to either solve a problem, add documentation, change the design, add a feature, you know, you have to be intentional about it. Once you find that, then it's much easier to figure out what project to contribute and how to contribute.
Okay, okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions you might have?
Mm, oh, is it generally recommended that someone kind of uses open source to test out his skills in a new language? I doubt, but just wanted to ask.
It
Like,
okay, you use
like, yeah, like personally now, I don't code Python very strongly, but I do code it. So if, say, for example, I were to go on a Python project and then try my hand at new code and try to contribute to maybe a PyCharm, for example, and contribute to that, would that be wise, or would it be better to wait and then become better at the language before contributing?
Go for it. Go for it. Because in the process of contributing, you're going to have to learn how to contribute in a manner that is standardized. You're going to have to get better in order to even be accepted, like for your pull request to be accepted, because they would check it thoroughly, you
Okay.
know? Yeah. So just go for it. Go for it. Fail, 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 fail. You can only fail so many times until you get it right. And all the difference between the two is that you don't give up. If you really want to, just go for it.
Okay. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. Thanks.
All right. Does anyone have
I have a question.
any
So
other
at what?
contributions they'd like to make or any questions they have?
Yeah, I have a question. Can you hear me? Hello. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right. So my question is actually based on the fact that at what point like while learning as a junior, is mid-level, senior, like at what point as a junior developer do you feel like are you like do you think one is actually capable of jumping on an open source project? I don't know, maybe there's a particular point in your at a particular point where you know I'm actually proficient enough to like jump on an open source project. I just want to know so that there are some open source projects that are actually like too big that once you jump on the project you feel like you can't do anything in this project. So I just want to like know.
Oh, well, you don't have an issue there, my bro. As long as you generally know how to program in the language and you can read the source code and understand it, then you're good to go. All you need to do is find out the contribution guidelines so that you know how to contribute, in what manner, how your code should be structured. If you want to add design, okay, how should it be? Because in all the contribution that you want to make, there are people who have done it before, most likely. It's very rare that you're not going to find you're going to find an open source project that nobody has contributed in that manner before. And even then, there are ways to find resources to help you along. It's just if you want to do it, then do it. As long as you can read the source code and you can read the instructions on how to contribute, then you're ready.
All right, thank you.
Mm. Mm.
Okay,
Anyone
I
else?
would like to follow up. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so I once saw I think the React package or so, and I was trying to make use of it, and I found out either the documentation is behind or the implementation a little bit ahead. So the documentation says you should use it, in case that is familiar in JavaScript, I've forgotten the name, and what is actually in the code is lowercase, right? So that was
Mm.
it took some time for me while I was trying to debug something. Now I was wondering because I did check, I believe it's an open source project. How long will it take for one to just make a fix? I mean, it's just to change it from lowercase s wherever in the parameter from lowercase to uppercase. So something that's trivial. How long will it take for someone to change it, or how long does it take in general for your change to be deployed or pushed into production, some stuff like that?
Well, it depends on a few factors. The size of the project you're contributing to, the speed at which the maintainers reply, and the priority of your contribution. But if it is something simple and it solves a very, because what you mentioned right now is something that I'm sure many other developers are struggling with, and many other developers likely know the solution, but not many of them know how to go about fixing that solution for others. And that method is open source contributions, like I just showed you in with the GitHub. So it's to find the GitHub repo. Where are you getting the code from? Where are you getting the code from? Then find who's managing that code, and then um, uh, create a pull request with the solution you've made. And once you've done that, then it's just a waiting game. But it should not take you more than like 2 to 3 weeks. It should be much less, but I'm just giving those numbers just in case. But regardless, once you contributed and it's a proper solution, then that's it. Move on. is by making as many of those contributions as you can that you really start growing in the community. They pile up.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, guys. I think we are coming to the end of our webinar. Thank you so much for your time. You guys are the real MVPs for sticking through to this long. I pray that you guys are safe in the country and that you guys are enjoying your weekend. I know it's Saturday and many of us are likely either looking for how to free mind or already doing so. So thank you once again. If you want to get updated on projects like these and updates like these, you can follow me on Twitter/X at Muscle Relaxed, or you can search for me on LinkedIn and we can connect. Let me share my X. I dropped it in the chats. Where am I? All right, so you can follow me up at Muscle Relaxed, or you can follow me up on my LinkedIn for more professional interactions and collaborations. My LinkedIn's Peter Anna. I know, guys. Thank you so much for your time. I'm gonna make this webinar all nice and then post it on YouTube for those of us who didn't meet it in the beginning. Thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.